In all honesty, I didn't expect much from Shades when I did my videos on him. I didn't expect him to have some sort of epiphany where he thought I was right. I didn't even expect him to give a good refutation if my points were flawed in any sort of way. So I didn't have high hopes for him. I wasn't expecting much from him. I wasn't expecting him to see the errors in his way and do any sort of improvement. In fact, the only options I saw was either A, he would turn and say, "You're right, Lachlan, all of these points are solid and correct, and I'm going to make an effort to improve myself," and then not make an improvement. Or B, he would try and very flimsily refute the points and fail miserably. So yeah, I didn't really have high hopes for Shades, but I had felt that we had came to an understanding. I was in a call with him after I did my second video on him, and we discussed the points. We had a back and forth. I brought up the points, he gave a response to them, we had a back and forth, and from what I seen, I felt as if we came to an understanding. But it wouldn't be Shades without the passive-aggressive lying. So, in a recent call with him, I was bringing up the video, and he turns and says that it's nothing more than guilt by association, petty bullshit. So much for that understanding, Shades. So I'm here to explain it, if not to get through to Shades, but to get through to his fans, and to defend people like MDA, Doodle, Queenie and Vlogreys and several other people that have been accused of falling under the guilt by association card. Now how about we discuss the most common one, the fact that he likes Mr. Epsilon. Now many of you may ponder, why don't other people get hate for liking Repsion? How comes people like Nilsson Sylvius don't get hate for liking Repsion? Well, there's a pretty simple answer. Nilsson admits Mr. Epsilon's faults. He admits that what Repsion did, which was flagging down MDA's video and threatening to hack him on occasion, was a pretty fucking petty thing to do just for a calm video, simply, reaching out to a friend. And the bigger problem that we had with Shades, which was far bigger than him thinking that Repsion did nothing wrong, was his dishonesty in going against promises. The fact that he made a promise that he would hate Mr. Epsilon, and he would lose his respect for Epsilon if Epsilon were to dock-drop MDA or release his name or anything like that. But when Repsion did that, Ranner and Shades was ambivalent. He didn't lose his respect, needless to say. And then going to say that he would lose his respect, given that if Repsion were to make something so fucking minor as a joke about autism, ignoring the fact that he's friends with people like Emery Bowman, Razareth, and various other people that he's friends with, who make autism jokes. But so much for those double standard Shades. You would lose respect for your idol if he were to make a joke about autism, but you wouldn't lose respect for your friends if they did the exact same thing. You know, Shades, this is the reason people think that your respect is so malleable. And the second things that Shades' detractors apparently use guilt by association with. The fact that he's friends with people that I don't like. People like Danny and people like Hodge. Now let me make one thing clear. If you want to be friends with Hodge or Danny, fine. Go right ahead. Go nuts. I don't care. I don't care who you're friends with. You know, fucking MDA's friends with Hodge, and I don't give a shit. The problem I have is when Hodge does something wrong and calls one of your friends Shades. One of your friends who you claim to be a good friend, and claims that he's the biggest piece of shit ever, and how much of an asshole loser he is. And what do you do in that regard? You console Hodge. You don't admit that what Hodge said was pretty fucking petty and ridiculous just for the fact that Brian criticized him. I mean, if you hate Brian, fine, but really calling him a piece of shit just for him making fun of your Facebook posts? Really, Hodge? And just to make one thing clear as well to Hodge, I don't hate you for the fact that you hated Brian at one point. My girlfriend dislikes Brian for fuck's sakes, and I'm still dating her, aren't I? But yeah, as said, Shades, The problem I have is that you take someone's side or take an approach to drama given not what you think would be the right thing to do, but given on what would benefit you the most. And what further proves your selfishness is the fact that when Danny compared me to a pedophile, that's something which you wouldn't have a problem with that much. But if Danny were to do the exact same thing to you, that would be when that's when he's crossed the line. He's really done fucked you over. So that's why people think you're a selfish and, generally not that good of a person. The fact is, Shades, there is room for improvement. You could improve yourself as a person. The thing is, we don't hate you for your associations. We hate you for the hypocrisy, the dishonesty, going against promises and all of this shit. Your associations don't mean anything. They only matter in the sense that they show your true colours. They show what a dishonest, cowardice liar you are. And before I end the video, there is just one final thing that I'd like to clarify just for the sake of clarifying. No, I did not get Danny's friends to remove him. I wasn't forming a lynch mob against him. What happened was that I removed Danny. I stated on a Tumblr post my distaste for him. Some people sided with me, like Cult of Clusterfuck. I think Jimmy at one point did, could be wrong. Emery agreed with me, and several other people removed him and agreed with me. I didn't force or obligate people to remove him, and as for me turning Nilsson against him, Nilsson came to me. I didn't come to him. The first time I messaged him, I think it was me asking if he was someone I'd spoken to before, and that was it. And then the second time was discussing Danny. Nilsson brought it up, not me. After I left a comment on an MDA video, he asked me what went down, why I was no longer friends with him, and I explained why, and he said that he was feeling the exact same way. So I told him maybe if he feels as if these people aren't good friends, then perhaps he should remove them. And he did. I didn't obligate him to, I didn't pressure him into doing it. I certainly didn't put this lynch mob against people. All that happened was I didn't like someone, and then I stated my disapproval and people came to me. So overall, I don't have a problem if you're friends with someone I don't like. The only problem I have is when you become a dishonest person who goes against promises, lies, and is essentially a selfish person. That's why people have an issue with you, Shades. I don't necessarily hate you in a huge regard, I just think that on occasion you can prove that you can be quite a selfish person. Perhaps the reason you're selfish is due to your Asperger syndrome, and don't take that as an insult. It was even addressed in that call. Maybe the reason why you don't have that good of an empathy thing is due to the fact that you lack the ability to, due to your Asperger syndrome. Maybe you should improve upon it. Just because you behave in a certain way due to your Asperger syndrome doesn't mean that you can't improve it. Take me as an example. A very long time ago, back when I was 11 years old, I used to be very socially not tact, if that's even a fucking word. I was very socially inadequate, I was very awkward around people. Generally, was a pretty bad company. I had very distinct problems with socializing. And look at me now. Not only can I speak coherently on camera and in Skype calls, but in real life, I'm well-spoken and generally a calm person in real life. Just because Asperger's makes you somewhat unempathetic and unable to see through other people's perspective, doesn't mean that you shouldn't try. Take off the shades and look at other people's perspectives.